probably the most nervous I've been for an interview in a very long time.
It's normally you doing this, you know. It's quite hard, actually. I'm not used to this, you know. So you make it look very easy, let me tell you. Listen, thank you so much on behalf of everybody listening in here for you taking the time to talk to us tonight and give us an insight into how you've progressed from the amateur ranks in Runfurley Castle and Ladies Golf Association. It's going to hopefully provide a lovely insight and some nice motivation for all the junior golfers that might be listening on here as well. I'd just like to obviously thank you. Obviously, it's part of a fundraising campaign we've got for the NHS. It's a really important part of what we're doing. So thank you for taking the time. I'd just like to give people a little bit of an overview of Iona and how she's certainly come through the ranks at quite a rapid pace. So I get to embarrass you a bit now, Iona, if you don't mind. Certainly have achieved a heck of a lot in such a short time, starting from Runfurley Castle, which is very, very familiar to a lot of us, to be a really good addition and a major contributor to the Renfrewshire Ladies Golf County Days, which we know you won several events and team events. I think it was a ladies jamboree as well. And I know from speaking to many ladies that are on the call, they regard you personally and as your golf game at a very, very high level in those days, and I'm sure it still is. You did also go on to achieve a +3 handicap in quite a fast time with 3 course records, which is really, I think, correct me down the line, but did you get from 19 to 4 quite quickly, which is unbelievable rate of progress. Yeah. But really, I think this is, so you really are one extremely talented sportswoman, and that's maybe more evident given your background, where you played junior international for Scotland at squash, hockey, lacrosse and athletics, which is really quite an achievement. And it maybe starts to explain a little bit of your golfing prowess, so to speak. You then went on to study at St Andrews University, studying the history of art. And then shortly afterwards, in 2016, turned professional in the Ladies Qatar Masters. Unfortunately, and you can update us on that, you did incur some injuries through the wrist, which probably had quite an impact in your early days in your professional career, but not one to stay down. You very, very quickly took on the role of presenter in the very, very popular Golfing World TV programme, and you're very familiar to a lot of us in Sky Sports Golf. So it's you've done a heck of a lot in a very quick time.
David, that's for sure.
No, you really have. You've done a lot. But I would just like to encourage people as well. We've got a chat function on here. I've got a lot of questions, so feel free if you want to use the chat function. So listen, let's get straight into a name you'll be familiar with, Carol Fell. Yeah, so Carol's interested to know what attracted you to change direction in sport and take on golf, and do you miss the playing circuit and competition?
Well, firstly, hello, Carol. It's good to see you on the screen. I'm a good friend from Ramfurley and from a blast from the past. And Carol, I have to say as well, I'm going to embarrass her a little bit, was a massive support to me in the very beginning. And there's a lot of chat right now about, well, there is always ongoing conversation around encouraging young girls into the golf. And Carol's a perfect example of someone who encouraged me into the game. And it was Carol, along with other ladies at Ranfurley, that really got me out the block. So a huge thank you to Carol, really, for that. And to answer your question, there was a sport transfer scheme being run in Glasgow at the time. And as you mentioned, David, I played junior international hockey. And I think Ali Howie's mum might be on the call, who was one of the best players that I ever saw on a hockey pitch, Ali Howie was. But there was a transfer scheme, and I decided that at the time I'd played a lot of individual sports before, like squash, and it was called Gold for Glasgow, and it was encouraging girls and boys from elite level team sports to transfer into individual sports. And I thought that sounds pretty good. I'm not sure what I'd like to do, but I kind of had an idea that I'd like to do an individual sport again and really challenge myself. I missed squash, to be honest, and I missed that kind of individual challenge. So I jumped into that program, and although golf wasn't one of the sports that was on the short list, I managed to twist a few people's arms to try and find me a a door to go through to start playing golf. And it was really at the same time I remember going to watch the Women's British Open, and I watched players like Paula Creamer, and I remember watching Kylie Walker and standing outside the ropes and thinking, why am I not playing this game? I can use a stick and a ball pretty well. I'm from Scotland, the home of the game. Why am I not playing this game? And it was, so shortly after that, I went to the Scottish Institute of Sport, and I asked for a little bit of support. And they were able to point me in the direction of a coach. And that at the time was a guy called Kevin Craggs. And I went to him for 3 golf lessons, and that was really enough to kind of get me out the blocks. And my handicaps came tumbling down with the help of all the ladies at Ranfurly, who were always rooting for me and giving me lots of feedback on all sorts of things. And, things from speed of play to how to get the ball in the hole in less shots, how to make 3 shots into 2. So after that, I thought, right, this is the game for me. And I was going to find any which way to make it happen. And I had actually at the time just accepted a hockey scholarship in upstate New York at a university called Syracuse. And I was studying at the Glasgow School of Art at the time, studying architecture, and I really wasn't enjoying it, to be honest. And, it's while you gave me a lovely introduction to this Zoom call, I must add I've made a lot of mistakes as well. And I think that, like you say, I've never really dwelled too much on the mistakes, and I've tried to kind of jump to the next opportunity. And turning down the opportunity to go to Syracuse, who were the NCAA field hockey champions, was a massive decision. To stay in the UK to become a professional golfer, you can imagine my parents' faces were just like, what are you doing? You don't even play golf. Why are you, you're a hockey player and you have got this great opportunity in America. But I had this, real love for the game from the very beginning. And I thought, this is it for me. And I saw that as a woman in sport, there was opportunity there for me. And I did miss the team camaraderie in the beginning, Carol. But golf is such an incredible community, and you make friends, and it has connected me with people in a way that I could only really have dreamed of. And I'm so grateful. And I was saying to David just before we jumped on the call that we've all come to a bit of a grinding halt, but if it all stopped now, I would be so chuffed with what golf has given me, and I'd go, that was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that answers your question there, Carol. That's a great answer, Iona. I think you say, I do a lot of work for the Renfrewshire County, and we've got somebody similar, Graham McGee and Lyle Campbell, but we need these figures in the game of golf nowadays to create that great environment you've had. Any advice, would you say, Iona? Ross Burnside's asking as well, for young girls, boys in the game at a younger age. Is there anything in your other sporting background that help things along and encourage the young ones along?
I think it's got to be fun for young ones, and that's nothing revolutionary. We know that with kids. And I remember people often say to me, why didn't you play golf until you were 19? What was it that turned you away? And I think I thought it was quite lonely. And when you're a kid, you want to be with your friends, and you want to be having fun and playing games. And it takes a very rare personality type, they do exist, to want to stand as a youngster on your own hitting balls. So I think to make it fun is the first thing. But the other thing that I say to any young people that I meet is it's okay to enjoy a range of sports when you're growing up. And that's what I did. And thankfully, because I was always developing hand-eye coordination, it was, I could apply it to lots of different sports. And I would add that in athletics, it was actually the javelin that I threw. And so again, it was that kind of hand-eye coordination. So I think, anything from skimming a stone on the beach with your kids to throwing a frisbee in the park. I have done a few junior clinics for a bit of fun, and very rarely do I actually have them with a golf club in their hand. And sometimes we're throwing tennis balls on the green to learn about the way that the ball releases down the green and things. And I think fun and mixing it up is really important. And if you can, trying to get them in a group of friends so that golf doesn't seem like such a lonely game, because it's not a lonely game. But when you're a youngster, you think, no, I'd rather be with my friends playing football or playing hockey. So making it as fun and sort of team environment is really important for kids.
Yeah, I think the fun element's key, what you said. I would agree, and Paul McGinley reiterated that last week as well. Exactly. So great advice, I think, for us all. There's quite a few questions, and we're talking just before we came on air there about the Golfing World programme, which I'm a big fan of, and I know there's a lot of people here very keen on that programme as well. And how many shows would you record and do a year? And do you have a say in the kind of the topics and the kind of layout of the schedule, if you like?
Well, as I was saying to you just before, David, a lot has changed since I joined the Golfing World team. Anna Whiteley was the presenter, and I got brought on board at the World Golf Championships in Mexico last March, and we ran the year as Golfing World. And I think I was going to about 3 events a month, so you can kind of do the maths there, over 30 events a year. And then they'd make they'd make probably upward of 50, 60 shows from that. But at the end of last year, Golfing World was bought by a different golf organization called Golf TV. And Golf TV is owned by the Discovery Channel. And so that's now a digital subscription service, which is really coming out of America. And they also own Golf Digest and so there's Golf TV, Golfing World, and Golf Digest that all sit under the one umbrella now. I'm sure lots of people are familiar with Golf Digest, which does the more instructional stuff. So a lot has changed. It's now very digital. Golfing World as a show doesn't exist on Sky anymore, sadly, in the UK. You can still watch it on a BA flight or a Qatar Airways flight, and you can see it in, I think, about 10 other countries worldwide. But within the UK, you've got to go online to Instagram or to golftv.com, and that's where all the content goes. So it's totally changed in the 12 months or so that I've been there.
Okay. How did the opportunity come for you to move into Sky Sports Golf as well? How did that happen for you?
Good question. To move into Sky, well, I'm trying to think. It was a case of I think I got the job at Golfing World, and that was obviously on Sky. So it was on Sky on like a Wednesday and Friday night, I think. So Jason, who's the big boss at Sky, was obviously catching a bit of these shows and had obviously recognised that Anna Whiteley had moved to the States, and a Scottish bird was just appearing on the screen now. So obviously wondered who I was and just got in touch with me really and asked me to go in for a chat. And he's tested that last year, he kind of put me to the test. My very, very first week with Sky was only at the Open, and it was live. And I remember the moment I was watching Nick in the Sky Zone and Nick Doherty, and he just took his headset off and he handed me the wee fluffy piece because it was very windy on the end of it, and he handed it to me and he's like, "There you go, Noni, best of luck." And I was like, I've got absolutely no idea what I'm doing, and it was absolutely terrifying. And he had this cheeky wee grin on his face because I think he knew how I was feeling. But so Jason, he tested me out last year, really different events, and the Solheim Cup was a huge highlight. And this year I had a very, very busy schedule with Sky, and unfortunately, just with things as they are at the moment, I haven't really got out the blocks. But eventually we'll get back there, and we'll all be back enjoying golf again.
Absolutely. Here's hoping sooner than later. There was a great, back to your Golfing World Golf TV, there was a great thing you did last year when you caddied for a tour player every hole.
Yeah.
Who was your favourite player and out of that kind of experience? It was good fun, it looked like.
It was absolutely brilliant, yeah. Anna Whiteley used to do a walk-a-hole, and I thought, well, I better put my own spin on this, really, and decided I'd take the bag, and it was about time I had some training, so decided to do this caddy a hole feature, and yeah, oh god, it was so much fun. What a laugh I had. I remember the first one I did was Joost Luiten at the British Masters, and Joost is such a chilled guy. He's really relaxing to caddy for, and it's interesting the way that different players do make me feel in front of the screen. Sometimes I put the bag on, I feel so relaxed, and other times I'm like, I remember with Henrik Stenson, I was absolutely terrified, and I could barely string a sentence together because I was more focused on doing a good job for him than actually producing good TV content. I thought, I really don't want to muck this up. And I think he actually made a par. He wasn't very happy because it was a short par 4, but the highlight of the Caddy hole was Shane Lowry, and it was a few weeks after he'd won the Open, and we were in Japan at the Zozo Championships, and it was on the Wednesday, the day before the tournament started, a beautiful evening, and I just found him on this stunning dogleg par 4, asked him if I could caddy for him, and he said yes, and I just found myself walking down the fairway in that moment, and I just couldn't believe it, where I was caddying for the Open champion, you know, a few weeks after everything that had unfolded at Portrush. I couldn't help but tell him that. I said, I just can't believe I'm doing this for you. And he was like, oh, away with you, Iona, it's absolutely fine. And I was like, I just am so honoured to be doing this. And Bo, his caddy, was away at the side, happy to have the rest. But yeah, that was probably the highlight, Shane Lowry.
Is there any other kind of starstruck player sometimes that you still go, woof, this is a good job to be interviewing so-and-so, or on the range, or?
Every single day, I'm pinching myself, and there are standout moments. The whole week at Portrush was just blew me away. The atmosphere, you know, the Irish, they love their golf as much as the Scots, and it was just incredible. And my first live week with Sky, I thought, what is going on? You know, is this really my life? And I was doing some stuff with Loch Lomond Whisky that week and hosting some Q&As in their tent, and so I was enjoying a wee dram or two, and it was just brilliant. I'm trying to think. I caddied a hole for Gary Player, which is always a real privilege, and he's always full of great lines and great stories, and you know, we love a story in golf, and he's got so many, and he's so willing to share his energy. And I remember I caddied for him at the end of last year in Florida at the Father-Son Invitational, and we did this hole, and he was teaching me, you know, always get it past the hole when you're coming out the bunker. That's what he's saying. I see so many amateurs and they play out the bunker and they never get it past the hole. And then I was saying, well, you know, where did you get your confidence around the green? And he finished that piece, and it's on Instagram if anyone wants to watch it, but he finished it with a Winston Churchill quote. And it was more or less, when the enemies were asleep, Winston Churchill was working, something along those lines. And the bottom line was, hard work wins. And, you know, I'll never forget that. And it was that was a brilliant one as well. But then through my relationship with Titleist, I've interviewed some of the greatest in the game, Bob Vokey, and, you know, the master craftsman of wedges. He was a real privilege to interview at the PGA show. Some of the most, I remember at the Scottish Open interviewing Tom Doak, the course architect, you know, one of the top 3 really at the moment. You know, it's one of the names you hear a lot, and that was also a real privilege. So people from all different facets of the game, and getting to sit down and have 5 or 10 minutes of their time is just, I just feel so lucky. I can't even put it into words.
Is Rory and Tiger, the European guys, the top guys, is kind of...
Oh yeah, then.
And the top ladies, because I want to go into Solheim Cup as well in a minute.
Yeah.
Are the top players as relaxed, or how do you deal with that hard interview if they've had a bad finish? Do you have to tread carefully with them a bit?
You definitely do. And I think that's where having played a bit of the game myself is brilliant, because I know before an interview there's certain things I wouldn't say. And then post-interview, there's certain things you just let go. But each player is very individual, and getting to know them all, you know, more on a personal level, which really helps. And I would say a lot of people don't realize with Golfing World and Golf TV, 90% of the job is actually the heckle post pre-interview. So Golfing World took me on this sort of trial trip to Mexico, and it was lovely, and there was a producer, and there was 2 cameramen, and I was like, this is amazing. And no shoot has ever been like that ever again. It rarely is there a producer there, so we're speaking to him remotely, and I have to make the approach to players. So, you're trying to build that rapport with the players and not be like, oh, here's Iona again. She just, she wants an interview. So I've tried to tread carefully throughout the year and really build up that relationship. And I feel like I've done that quite carefully and cautiously, and the players give you respect. So if you say, can I have 5 minutes of your time? And you take 5 minutes rather than 15 minutes, they remember that. And I interviewed Rory at the HSBC in China, and we had a sit-down conversation, and that was one of my favourite interviews. We spoke about his juggling, round routine, and some of his favourite books, and then I interviewed Phil Mickelson that same day, and we spoke about coffee and intermittent fasting. And that was a day that the producer had kind of given me free rein and said, look, do you know what, Iona, we'd been on the road for like 2.5 weeks. He was like, just go mad, do what you want to do. And I was like, really? Brilliant. And so I did, and I had such a lovely chat with those guys. And I think it was actually nice to, Rory wasn't expecting those sorts of questions, and I wasn't saying, how are you feeling after that round, Rory, or what are your expectations going to this week. I jumped in like something completely different, and he still brings that up with me today. And we chat about books now, and he'll say to me, what book are you reading? And nice to become friends with these guys and build that rapport.
That's lovely to hear that. We mentioned earlier, obviously, and we've got Katrina on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
The Solheim Cup experience last year for you, from a personal level, from a working level? How was it, obviously?
Oh, it was just brilliant. Gleneagles as a venue blew everyone away. It was just Scotland at its best, really. And again, it was a big week for me with Sky, because Nick wasn't in-house. So it was Sarah and I that were kind of co-hosting that, really. She was the lead presenter, and I was managing the Sky Zone, where you bring people in and they do the demonstrations and things. And the atmosphere and everything was just fantastic. And then, of course, there was over 90,000 fans that turned up throughout the week. It was the greatest TV viewership that Sky had ever had for a Solheim Cup. So it was an amazing, pinnacle for women's sport and women's golf. And the way it all unfolded in the very end with Suzanne holding that putt, it was just magnificent. And Bronte Law as well, on the 17th, I interviewed her straight after she came off the green, and that was a real highlight for me, actually, to be given that privilege of chatting to her before anyone else. All her family and everyone who supported her whole career were there, and it was me that she spoke to first. I thought, this is a bit cheeky, but the fans at home want to know how she's feeling. And it was a real honour to be part of that and see Team Europe do so well that week.
No, it was amazing TV, I have to say. What's your thoughts and observations in the ladies' game and the gents' game, having spent time in both camps, so to speak? It's good to see the merge with America as well, obviously, for the ladies' European tour. It's in terms of the top players, the standard is so good, isn't it? What's your thoughts behind the scenes and what you see there between both?
Well, it's interesting because I work predominantly within the men's side of the game. But of course, as a woman in golf, I'm always keeping an eye on what's happening on the ladies' side. And I have been to a few LPGA and LET events as a presenter. And what do I think? I think that the women's games, really struggled in the last few years. And thankfully, more recently, they've had nudges of support, and they've had a lot of help from the European Tour offering support, and the LPGA offering support. And that's what the ladies in Europe needed, because that tour barely had any events. It was really suffering. I think that the women's game is just so enjoyable to watch, and whenever I go to an LPGA event or an LET event, you can't help but love it. The Women's British Open at Woburn last year was one of the highlights for me, and a fantastic spectacle of golf, not just women's golf, but golf full stop, as was the Solheim Cup. And I think, there's so much I could say on this. And actually yesterday I was having a really good think about this, because there was a lot of people saying that this first live event back on Sky should have been a mixed event. And a friend had texted me saying, what do you think about this? And I kind of realized I didn't really know. And I thought, I better figure this out, Iona, because people are going to ask you and you really need to know what you think. And so I did have a good think about this yesterday, and my overall thoughts were a couple of things. First of all, the ultimate goal, I think everyone can agree, is that the game of golf is where we want to end up. Not men's golf and not women's golf, but golf as a whole is where we should try to get to. And of course, the women are a long way behind, and it will take time, but there's so much going on to encourage the women's game, and there's initiatives going on all over the world. And I think what I'm not really a fan of is kind of blaming and sort of negativity coming into the space saying this could have happened, this should have happened. And I'd much rather that we all pull together and focused on all the things that are happening, like the Women's Golf Charter in the RNA. Girls Golf Rocks has been something England Golf have been running. Love Golf is another initiative that's being run. Women's participation in golf in the UK needs to continue to grow, because right now it's a lot lower than other European countries. The majority of European countries like Germany, Sweden, Slovenia, they all have over 30% of women playing golf, and we're way down at kind of 13% participation. But I think my view is that there is a lot going on. The Women's Golf Charter by the RNA is a huge initiative that's bringing women into the game. And if anyone ever asks me my opinion on it, I always just say, well, listen, it's very difficult to control what's going on out there, but what we can do is control what we do. So is there a woman in your life that you could invite to play golf? Or, you know, who are the 3 women closest to you in your life, and do they play golf? And if not, why not? And do you think they'd like to? And maybe we could go and play. So I'm all about focusing on I'd really like to keep a positive conversation going about it, and not try and feel this divide between the men's and women's game. I've always had a brilliant experience in golf, and granted, you know, there have been times where you know, I'm probably quite flexible in my approach to certain things, and I've got 2 older brothers, so I've always kind of just felt like I can keep up with anybody. And I think that there's so much that is happening to grow the women's game that I'd like to continue that conversation and say, well, what are you doing on a personal level? And I pledge to do things in my own personal life. Just before lockdown, I had this brilliant women's event organised at a course down south called Sunningdale Heath, which was a women's introduction into golf. And I had 30 women who'd never played the game before coming along to join me for some yoga and then some chipping. And unfortunately, it was the Wednesday of the week of the Masters, and I had to cancel it because of the situation. But I will have that event, and that's my pledge. So I think if we can, within the UK, continue to encourage women to get involved in this game, then it will continue to feed up, and hopefully things will continue to grow to a slightly more equal stage.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think certainly our club at White Craig's a very active ladies section, and we had to cancel a big girls programme, unfortunately, for this year. So I'll maybe get you along next year, Iona, when you've got a week off, you know, come along through.
David, I'm all about that. Bring me in.
Absolutely. Another name you'd be familiar with, Gillian Kyle and Margaret Corrigan are asking you, do you now see your career in presenting in TV? And a big question, where do you see your career in 5-10 years? There you go.
Well, I've got to be honest. My goals have changed a lot, but ultimately I want to present Question of Sport.
There you go.
That's actually just a pipe dream, really. That's always been something I thought, I just love a quiz. Who doesn't love a quiz? And I've always loved giving quizzes to my family. But David, as you mentioned at the beginning, I've had a really bad wrist injury. And that's something that I also talk to young golfers about, and it's how to look after your body, because golf, you play it for a long time and a lifetime if you're lucky. And I made a lot of mistakes and unfortunately paid the price in my wrist. And so it's something I struggle with, you know, every time I play golf now, but I've got ways of managing it. But that's what has put me on the path I'm in now. And to be honest, I'm absolutely loving it. I think things happen in life for a reason, and I choose to see the positives there, really. And I'm so lucky to do what I do. So yeah, I would really like to develop as a really good female broadcaster in the game of golf. And the start of this year, I sat down, I thought, right, Iona, what can you do better? And I wrote down 3 things that, you know, I wanted to try and improve on this year. And I'm not really getting very far because I'm still in my house, but I'm still thinking about those things. And one of those things was to continue to push my journalistic knowledge. And there's so much rich history of this game. And, you know, I just want to be able to give the viewers the best experience possible, knowing that I really know what I'm talking about and I really know the game. I'm passionate about it, and they can trust that I'm not just there filling 10 minutes and that I'm really in it. And so I'm passionate about becoming, as I was as a golfer, becoming the very best I can be in this profession, which I'm so lucky to be in. And I won't take the opportunity I have as a presenter for Golfing World and Sky for granted. And I'll do my very best to try and bring some good TV to everyone at home.
Yeah, I think given your background as well, Iona, it's fitness and is a huge part of your life. And I saw you on social media doing something from the R&A, talking about different golf stretches, which was fantastic. How much fitness do you dedicate per week yourself? A few people have asked that. You know, is that a big part of your life? And what do you do? What's your kind of balance with fitness? What do you focus on?
Well, again, it's changed a lot. But as a golfer, because my background was hockey, it was almost fitness first, golf second. And that wasn't the right way around, by the way, but that was kind of where my mindset was. And it took me a while to realize, you know, basically, you got to be flexible. And I always said, you got to be fit or you got to be fat. You can pick which one you want in golf, but that'll help you hit it a long way off the tee. So I opted to be fit, and I tried to make the most of everything I could. As I became a presenter on the road, you know, I was traveling long haul flights week in, week out, and I was finding it really difficult to maintain that same level of health and fitness, overall kind of holistic health. And I've got a diploma in sports nutrition, and when I had my injury in my wrist, I qualified as a personal trainer and got this nutrition kind of thing. And I was thinking that might be where I was going. And then I was on a rainy day, I got this email from Golfing World, and like that, things changed. But fitness and health have always been, you know, something I've prioritized. And now more than ever for people, I think, you know, it's so important to recognize that your health is your wealth. And I always come back to this quote that has guided me a lot in my life, is that so a quote I think of, which is a healthy person can have 1,000,000 dreams, and an unhealthy person will only have one. And so I still prioritize my health, my well-being at the very, very top. And then I know that I can give the best of myself in whatever I'm doing. But yes, my fitness has taken a short spike in this lockdown because I've not been getting on long haul flights. I've been able to go running and get out on the bike for an hour a day, and at home doing loads of yoga and a couple of videos with the R&A, like you said. And I worked with some of the best in the business, a guy called Justin Buckthorpe, who coaches Justin Rose, Molinari, Georgia Hall. And he's got fantastic stretches and things that you can do that translate into golf, you know, brilliantly. And he helped me a lot in that department and understanding my body, because everyone's body is different. But I've shared a few of those videos with this health program I'm doing with the R&A.
Yeah. Iona as well, a few questions in and around Sky Sports. Wayne Riley looks like such a lot of fun. Watch him in TV. Is he as daft as he looks? He looks great fun.
He's even more daft than that. He's mad as a box of frogs. Yeah, the whole Sky team, to be honest, they're full of energy, full of life, real personalities in there. You can imagine, I remember at the Open, we had this little porta cabin, which was the green room, and so intimidating. I thought, you know, I'm sitting in this room of legends. I had Laura Davies to my left, and yeah, Wayne Riley to my right, Nick Doherty, you know, over there, former top 50 player in the world, Paul McGinley sitting diagonally to my right. And I was watching the final closing holes of the Open with them in this little porta cabin. And I just thought, I'm in seriously good company here. But they've all got bags and bags of personality, and I'm learning a lot from them. And they've been so kind to me and very encouraging. And I think it is important that, there is women within the team. And Henny was obviously a brilliant presenter for Sky for many years, but she's over in the States now. Sarah's there doing a brilliant job. So I'm just delighted that I can be there for the girls, and I can bring, you know, a female voice to that room. And they've been, good fun and very welcoming. So I've been lucky.
I think you do a great job. I'm sure I'm speaking from everybody. I think you're a natural, so you look great in the TV. I think you come across so well, and you put across a player's perspective, which is really, really good. You carry it off really well. See, obviously, from the Sky Sports perspective, when we log on at night to watch the golf, obviously your week starts well before that. When do you normally travel to a normal, regular event, and what's the focus for the week leading up to the tournament?
So normally I travel, depending on how far I'm traveling, I'll fly on the Saturday or the Sunday for the Golfing World preview stuff Monday to Wednesday. And then I'll stay on with Sky Thursday to Sunday for the tournament. Or if I'm not working with Sky that week, I'll fly home and I'll have a few days off and then normally fly away again at the weekend. So with Golfing World, we're kind of in and out, and we don't actually get to watch much of the tournaments. And last year, when I was just doing Golfing World stuff, it was very strange because we'd be going in and out, and people would be going, "Oh, you were there." I was saying, "Well, I actually didn't see any of the tournament. I was just in the build-up to it." But the one exception to that was at the Masters, and the Golfing World boss decided that since we were there and we'd gone all that way, that he'd let us stay and watch the Masters. So I never in my life thought I thought if I was really lucky, Carol Fell might get me on a rota of Masters tickets, and worst case I'll watch it on her chair in her living room. But I thought maybe as a retirement present I'll get somehow to the Masters. And I just could not believe, I was my third week working with Golfing World, and they let us stay and watch the tournament Thursday to Sunday. So we weren't working at all. We did the build up. Media at the Masters is incredibly tight. So there's very few few media people that get to film anything at the Masters, really. It's very strict. And so we got to watch Tiger. And funnily enough, actually, we were told we were going to get to interview Tiger after his win. So we waited 4 hours. We waited to interview Tiger. But to cut a long story short, I'd had 3 questions to ask him, and we were 4th in line after Sky Sports, the Golf Channel, another American show, and then it was us. And we were interviewing him for Rolex. And I had these 3 questions in the 4 hours that I was waiting to interview him. I didn't stop saying the questions, and my cameraman Justin just let me say them and say them and say them and say them so that I wouldn't muck them up. And then he had to get his private jet, and just as I was about to interview him, his manager was like, "No more questions," and I was like, I was like, But I also felt very relieved because I wasn't quite ready for Tiger Woods in week 3.
Oh, listen, I think that would be daunting for anybody, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A few questions. What's been the highlight kind of golf destination you've been to for shoots, for tour, or kind of venues? Does anything really stand out, kind of home and abroad, so to speak?
Well, I'll always start at home, and the Macquarie on the island of Isla was a real standout. I did a little feature there last summer, and it just doesn't get any better than that, as far as I'm concerned. There's 12 working distilleries on the island of Isla, and so that's enough to take you there. But then you add in a championship golf course, a beautiful hotel, wonderful hospitality. It just was 10 out of 10. And further afield, it's really hard. Crans, Montana, last year in the Swiss Alps blew me away. That was a spectacular venue. At the end of last year, I went to Streamsong, just an hour and a half north of Florida, where there's 3 golf courses, a Tom Doak, Gil Hans, and Core Crenshaw design, the blue, the black, and the red. Amazing hotel. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and this this incredible golf resort appears, and it's these inland links courses that are built on salt mines, so old salt mines, and that was very, very impressive. I went to the Olympic venue that was supposed to be this year in Japan, at Kuma Kumagaseki golf course, and that was also very impressive, and it will be an amazing venue when we get there in next year. But Japan was pretty spectacular as well, and a place I'd go back to in a heartbeat if I had the opportunity to. So many. But then at the end of the day, David, I come back to Scotland and I realise more and more and more what we have here on our doorstep, and I just fall in love with it. Every time I come home, I think this is brilliant. I play at Crail with my dad, and I just, Dumbarnie Links, which is opening up round the corner from where I am now, that's going to be wonderful. So I think we're very blessed here in Scotland. I feel so proud whenever I'm out on the road to say this is my home.
What would be your favourite Open Championship venue?
Well, the Women's Open this year was supposed to be at Royal Troon, and I was really looking forward to that. And as an open venue, I think it's spectacular. You know, it's a real monster of a course. But I mean, I've got my own experiences there, and I've played it probably more than any of the other open venues, bar the old course. I've played it a few times, but I think Royal Troon, I had that in my head for this year. I was really excited about that. And, you know, it's you know, generally you go downwind on the way out and you turn the corner and you come back into an absolute howling wind, and you could be hitting a driver off the par 3 towards the end. And, you know, yeah, I think that's one of my favourites, and hopefully we'll have a brilliant Women's British Open there next year or this year. I don't know if they've announced if it's going to go ahead yet or not.
Yeah, I hope so. The Royal Troon is hard to beat. I'll tell you, one of my favourites, I played last year with the wife and boys and my dog. Yeah. We went up north to play Brora. Have you played there?
I haven't, but I actually have a Brora. Wait there a wee sec.
Perfect.
Funny you should say that, because I actually got this in the post.
Brilliant.
Just the other day.
Fabulous.
And I thought, right, I'm going there. Anyone that sends me a cap, I'm in.
I can say you'll not be disappointed. It's in my top 3 courses I've ever played. It's majestic. So
amazing.
I'll prep for that in Golf World. Get up there and do a wee shoot at Brora.
Yeah, well, as soon as the lockdown lifts and we're properly lifts and we're allowed to travel, what I'm going to do is a feature on the top 5 links courses in Scotland. So I'm currently planning that at the moment and doing all my research and being very journalistic about it, because that was my goal at the start of the year. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
What's on the list so far? Are you allowed to tell us, no?
Well, yeah, I'm starting with Crail actually, because it's down the road and it's one of the oldest courses in the world. And so that's where I think it's going to start. And I'll keep the rest a secret for now.
Wait. I was only chancing my arm there, don't worry. Who would you say in world golf, gents or ladies, that your game you would admire the most? Whose game really stands out in gents and ladies?
It's a great question. Game stands out the most. I'd say, well, tee to green, Tommy Fleetwood. The sound he makes when he hits the ball is just incredible when he hits an iron shot. And I love that he's got his own unique thing going on, and he's got that, you know, sawn off follow through. And I think because of that, he has so much control on the ball, and it's just a thing of beauty to watch. So Tommy Fleetwood, whenever I think, right, Iona, you really got to get your game on today, I always think, right, get your Tommy Fleetwood going, come on. So I tried to channel my inner Tommy Fleetwood. And then around the green, I mean, the Corda sisters are brilliant around the green. But then I often think of Katrina Matthew, you know, and I know you've got her coming on later this week. The thing I love about Katrina's game is I watched her, you know, all her career, and she's just so calm, and it doesn't look like she's giving welly into the ball. It all looks very controlled, and she's just really playing within herself, and she just gets the job done. And I just think that's so to be admired, because I certainly fell into the trap when I was playing of trying to have this unbelievably athletic driving swing, and I didn't really need all that. I just needed to, 2 turns and a flick and get the ball down the fairway. And she does that so well. So I admire her a lot.
I think it's being individual, isn't it, as you say, and doing what works and just repeat and repeat and repeat.
Yeah.
Anyone stand out? Who was the top player for you at the Solheim, would you say, when you spent close proximity to the players? Was there 1 or 2 people that really stood out there from US and Europe as well?
Well, Bronte Law was sort of the superstar, really, from Team Europe, just because she was kind of like the Ian Poulter of the team. And they had Mel Reid as one of the vice captains, and so she normally plays that role of the kind of getting the camaraderie going and the hype and the kind of all the energy coming from her. And so to have her on the sidelines, it was really nice to have someone as young and as youthful as Bronte coming in and bringing that injection of like oomph. So she really stood out, but the Americans were great as well. And I got to interview them all at the start of the tournament, the run up for Sky, all of Team Europe and all of Team USA. And it was great as well to see Suzanne Pettersen, she was a huge role model for me growing up. And I remember with St. Andrews Uni meeting her out in Florida, and I've still got that picture actually. It's at my parents' house in a wee frame the day I met Suzanne Pettersen, and it was such a huge thing at Bay Hill in Florida. And then to be there, interviewing her now again, I don't know how many years on this is, but 7 or 8 years on. And she's still just such an incredible role model for so many. And you ask so many of the girls out there, who do you look up to? And she'll be the answer 9 times out of 10. And she's been a fantastic role model for so many. And you need people like that in the game. And that's what the women's game continually needs. It needs stars like McIlroy, and it needs people that are prepared to be strong role models so that we've got people to champion there.
Absolutely. Great answer, Iona. Jay Dobson's asking you, back to your kind of TV, who have you not interviewed yet and why would you like to interview them? So that's for golf. And who would you love to interview outside of golf?
Outside of golf. Okay. In golf, God, I've really done the rounds in golf. It's been a quick fire 18 months. Well, there's a couple of people, but there's someone I haven't interviewed that you actually have, David, which is unfair in itself. You've been in this job for a couple of weeks, and here I am. I've been in it for 18 months, and I would really like to interview Paul McGinley, because I think he's very forthcoming in sharing his knowledge and sharing his advice. I find him a very friendly guy, and I'd love to chat to him about his career. And I think there's a lot of things I could extract from a conversation with Paul that would be beneficial to so many young golfers out there, which I'm sure you've already done that job for me. So I haven't ever interviewed Tiger Woods, and it would be good because I think I'd like to go in it from a completely different angle. And I have had a chat with him a few times, and he likes to talk about vodka a lot, but outside of that, I would like to have a serious conversation with him, but with my own little spin. And do you know who I'd love to interview for everyone to experience would be Martin Slumbers, the chief executive of the R&A, because I've played golf with Martin a few times, and he's just got the most amazing perspective on the game of golf. And he's got this vision, which he keeps very low key, and he's going about things in such a brilliant way, and particularly for women, and the way that he respects and values female participation in this game of golf. And it wouldn't be the same if women didn't play the game of golf. And I just love what he was saying to me when we were playing golf, and I'd love for other people to hear that too. So I would really love to have a chat with Martin Slumbers on air. And then outside the world of golf, I'd like to chat to Novak Djokovic about nutrition. He's got a fantastic book that I'd recommend called Serve to Win. And it's a play on serving your food serving. And reading that was really one of the things that got me really thinking about what I was putting in my body and how was that affecting my hormones, and then how was that impacting how I was playing and my mood during a round of golf. What could I eat that would help me feel better, that would help my mindset be relaxed but focused? So yeah, Djokovic would be a brilliant one. I think I'd like to chat to about nutrition.
I think all of them. I'd love to do the same as well, but I'd go for Paul. He's amazing to talk to, but I'm sure that's round the corner for you. That's perfect.
I'll get him somewhere, yeah, even if it's over a pint.
Back to vodka. A few people have said, what's your favourite tipple?
Well, I've got my Loch Lomond whiskies here lined up next to me because, I do quite a lot of work with them, and I've been learning all about whiskies actually, which has been a real pleasure, to be honest, because again, I'm just so proud to be Scottish, and so to get stuck into the real good culture of Scotland is something I just love doing. And I've got a nice wee selection here to my left. But then the other day, a distillery on the island of Iona, I read about them starting a gin company, and so I've ordered this gin and got this beautiful. I'll show you. This Iona gin here. You can see that.
Lovely.
Which you can see there's not a lot left because I had a hen party the other night with some of my friends online. We did a Zoom hen party, and I was in charge of the cocktails. And in lockdown, I've learned to make a few cocktails, mainly whiskey cocktails. And there's actually a couple of them on my Instagram as well, if anyone fancies a wee whiskey cocktail. But yeah, I'd say that it would appear by the state of my drinks cabinet that whiskey is my tipple of choice.
It's a good partnership. You're an ambassador for Loch Lomond Whisky, is that right?
Yeah, my family are delighted.
Absolutely. Listen, another question to finish, Iona. Who would be your dream fourball, and past or present, and where would you play?
Gosh. Dream fourball. Okay, well, I'm in there. So we've got 3, right? Dream fourball. Well, I've got to take my dad because a daughter can never have enough time with her dad. So he's definitely going in there. And then I think I'll definitely give Rory McIlroy a call because I'm still convinced I could learn to hit a driver like him. And I'll keep convincing myself until I realise I can't. But I'd like to just bring him along. And I think I'd like to invite Michelle Obama to complete our pack. I've become a huge Michelle Obama fan, and I think that, to be honest, we could all learn a lot from her in 4 hours on the golf course. And I can't think of another way that I'd get 4 hours with her out with inviting her to play golf. So I'll take Michelle Obama, and we'll play boys v girls, and I think we'll play at Ranfurly Castle.
There you go. That makes all the county girls all delighted. That's a great answer. They'll all be chuffed to bits with that one. My wife's sneaking in one last question. Sorry, Iona. What's the best snack or recommendation to eat out in the golf course and drink for those club golfers out there?
Whiskey.
Whiskey. Loch Lomond whiskey.
No, I'm joking, of course. Only half joking, but no, I think I did a recipe with the RNA recently, which was this really easy to make 3-ingredient bar that's got bananas, oats, and peanut butter. And there's a guy, an Irish golfer, what's his name now? David, the young Irish golfer. His brother's a nutritionist. He plays on the European Tour. I'm having a mind blank with his name, but I've spoken to his brother a lot, and he helps a lot of the guys out on the European Tour, and he makes these little energy balls for them that generally have banana, oats, and peanut butter, and some other like personalizations thrown in there. But you'll see a lot of guys on tour, so it's qualified advice I'm giving you there from the tour, and you can see that recipe online. But other than that, I think it is so important to have a good snack in your bag, because golf's a long time to be out on the course, and there's nothing worse than finishing bogey. So to avoid that happening, snack.
Lovely. Great advice, Iona. Listen, we'll leave it there. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. It's absolutely lovely to hear from you. We really look forward to seeing you back on the screens. You're doing a fabulous job, and as you say, it's you're new into this new career, but you really have taken to it. You've got a fabulous personality to be a huge success. So watch out, Question of Sport, hopefully.
That's it. You've got to watch out for this quiz show in the future. But I would just like to say thank you, David, for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will come and see you definitely in the West.
Lunch is on me at Whitecraig's Golf Club, and I'll maybe get Carol Fell along as well. So
that would be so bad.
Ladies. So
and just also thank you to Renfrewshire. Really, it all started for me in Glasgow and at Ranfurly and within the county. So I certainly remember those days. Every single time I'm out on the road, I think about climbing up that hill in the second hole at Ranfurly and how good it made me feel. And that's still what golf's all about for me is, ultimately, I think it's a game that gives me a lot more than I could ever give to it. And I'm incredibly grateful to that and grateful to the people that have helped me on my own journey.
Lovely. Thank you. Listen, great words, Iona. Thank you so much. I'm sure you'll continue to make lots of great friends, and you've been a great ambassador, I'm sure, for Ranfurly. They speak so highly of you. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks, David. All the best to everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.